Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Data Dispatch. Hope you guys are all having a wonderful day. We have another jam-packed video talking about a lot of crazy things happening within the market and some resilience things. But talking about some crazy things, we see Beyond Meat, which is gaining a ton of retail attraction, momentum, and trading volume, up another 100% on the day. We'll be talking about that towards the end of the video, so make sure you stay tuned to catch the update on that. But we see Palantir that is continuing to base out, getting tighter, and kind of gearing up for a possible post-earnings gap. Could this be the key catalyst to push it towards that $200 price target that I personally have by end of the year? We see BMNR that's accumulating Ethereum still at a rapid pace, and Ethereum being kind of stuck in the zone. So we'll be talking about that, its potential move for Q4, all on top of Netflix coming down about 6% today in the after hours after earnings weren't basically living up to be as hot as they were expected to be, all before we have some CPI data that'll be coming out on Friday, the only data that we're really going to get because the government's still shut down. So if you're a new or returning viewer, hit that like button, subscribe for daily videos. We're trying to hit 30,000 subscribers. Let's see if we can do it. Pop it up on the screen here. Talking about Palantir, not a ton to talk about with this individual stock. We've been talking about it a ton on this channel, covering it all the time. Still just continuing to hold its base right here, consolidating with some choppiness. And, as you typically can hear in the market, a common saying is the longer the base, the bigger the breakout. So this is doing a good job basing out, forming a very tight band near these all-time high levels, gearing up for a possible earnings gap. I think if earnings does come out with a slam dunk report, historically they have, I think that would be awesome for Palantir. You see in the overnight hours here down about 51 cents. But like I said, look at this 1 month range here. It's pretty crazy, between 170 and 189 at his all-time highs. Talking about earnings, though, that's coming out here November 3rd. So that's going to be happening in less than 2 weeks on a Monday post-market, with a revenue estimate of $1.09 billion, correlated with the earnings per share normalized of 17 cents. One thing that keeps me bullish on earnings is the earnings per share revisions in the last 90 days. We've seen 19 bullish ones and 0 bearish ones. So a lot of expectations for BMNR, or sorry, not BMNR, for Palantir. We'll be talking about that next. But for Palantir, which could be a good catalyst to help break it out of its choppy zone. Before we do talk about BMNR, let's talk about the general market here today. Futures are basically little changed here. We see Netflix that does slide on earnings. We're seeing gold that actually took a decent pullback today. After that, it's been having a lot of attraction behind it. I mean, with people lining outside of the door to try to buy gold, that was a pretty easy top indicator. I don't have any personal positions in gold, but what we're seeing is possibly some rotation into crypto. We'll be talking about that in just a few moments here. But with Netflix, shares slump here over 6% after the company right now at $11.62, down about $78 in the after hours. Basically, they posted an earnings miss. We do have strong quarterly results, though, from companies such as Coca-Cola, which is really good, and I think shows us some consumer confidence, which helped push the Dow Jones to about 47,000. Nonetheless, like I mentioned, the S&P 500 closes flat today at 6735. However, at this zone, a close above 6,700, especially with some choppiness and a little bit of uncertainty, of course, with the tariffs and what the tensions are going to be regarding that, especially from recent statements talking about like 155% tariffs now on China. It's like, let's just make a deal now and kind of put that past us, because now it's kind of getting a little kind of behind us. I want to say I'm not paying too much more attention to it unless we see a ton of volatility that does occur in the market. But I do like the resilience here in terms of the broader index, and some of the blue chip stocks that are starting to catch a bid, like Amazon. I mean, just yesterday we had the whole internet outage. Half the internet was down because of AWS that had experienced some issues. And this just shows you how much of the internet relies on AWS. And I think that could be a key catalyst or culprit on why Amazon is starting to catch a bid right now. So like we talked about this before, some of the big blue chip stocks, some very big American companies are starting to catch a bid, and we're seeing actually a lot of the frothy companies, a lot of nuclear quantum stocks that are taking a strong and well-deserved breather. Is this healthy, especially at these levels for the market? I personally believe so. Tomorrow we could see some volatility, especially with some of the tech sector kind of things, as we do have Tesla's earnings that are expected for Wednesday after the bell. It'll be interesting to see here, especially from reports in the Magnificent Seven tech group. seeing how Tesla is going to report. On top of that, there's an interesting quote here that I do like, saying that if you get through 6,800 on this S&P, that's where you're going to see bulls that probably maintain full control. And there could be another leg. A lot of people predicting just on a technical side, above that 6,800, you could easily get to that 7,000 resistance point. Basically, on a fundamental side, we do have, and technical side, a lot of support at that 6,550. So keep that in mind, especially with consumer price index report that's due on Friday. A lot of people are going to be awaiting that since we haven't had a lot of big macroeconomic data since the government still continues to be shut down. Talking about BMNR right here, BMNR comes down about $2.6 today, $2.60. At BMNR is currently at 51.17. Now, Ethereum is just doing this funky thing where it's really trading between this 4,200 and this 3,800 zone. And it's just kind of sitting out here, basing out. You can see over the last 7 days, it's been basically doing that same thing between 42 and 38. We're right here during this time. Time Lee is accumulating a ton of BMNR within his own basically treasury and trying to reach that, of course, alchemy of 5%, power of numbers, possibly a staking initiative that has a lot of speculation behind it to be announced soon. So BMNR, the native asset value, is still continuing to improve on a daily base, and he has a lot of conviction behind this stock, or not behind this crypto and BMNR specifically. What I do like is the institutional interest that's within here, especially with all the political bills that have been recently passing. I am personally bullish on BMNR for end of year targets and anticipating a lot of people showing here supplies on actual exchanges and reserves are starting to deplete, which predictions that we've seen from Tom Lee, a possible supply shock could be coming. We'll see what happens. We did have some big kind of green candles that came in for Bitcoin and stuff like that today. People talking about, look at this here, this candle from, 111 to 113. What was that today? That was a big move for Bitcoin in the matter of just a few hours. People talking about possible rotation from the commodity assets such as gold, silver, which are taking a breather right now from the all-time highs. Is that being rotated into digital assets, basically Bitcoin seen as the gold store of value in terms of a digital form, digital gold. So possibly that could be a rotation. Not seeing a ton of movements that would kind of solidify that type of hypothesis, but nonetheless interesting to see here, especially since the market's been doing really well and crypto's been kind of just holding, consolidating for some time. Talking about here some of the Magnificent Seven stocks, Google wanted to bring attention here. We did see OpenAI that launched a web browser, and we actually saw, a lot of people were asking, seeing why did Google drop relatively quickly? It raised 160 billion of market cap in 2 hours after OpenAI actually had launched this web browser. However, then it added 180 billion back in 4 hours later after everyone realized that OpenAI's web browser is just Google Chrome with ChatGPT bolted on. So you can see here there's a lot of volatility within the market. There's a lot of swinging, and the VIX is continuing to stay relatively elevated. It has cooled off from its last recent spike that we've seen. But these things, and you can see dip buyers are still continuing to come in within the market, and we have craziness in meme stocks that are also, look at this here, Beyond Meat right here, up another 146% on the day. People talking about possible short squeezes here. This right here is just a big type of gamble casino move. Looking at the momentum, yes, this could still continue to go higher, but when it doesn't, when people become exit liquidity, is when this thing could fall as fast as it went up. So always, of course, do your own due diligence and a lot of research out there. Nonetheless, though, look at this volume that is coming in. Over 2 billion of volume right now, market cap at 277 million. So quite crazy here to see Beyond catching a strong bid when this was just 50 cents right here, basically facing bank. I haven't checked too much into the actual, fundamentals of the company. I know they were, facing bankruptcy. Let me know, is that still a thing? Is there a possibility with this that they could raise money? Possibly we could see public offerings, especially with this much volume and market capitalization coming into the stock if they're looking to get money. So we'll see what happens with that. But like I said, of course, be very careful out there. do your own research. At the end of the day, it's your portfolio. So that's all that I have for you guys. Take a peace out and take care. Have a great night.